Yes, today's topic is the Eightfold Noble Path, which is the fourth noble truth, which after the Buddha attained enlightenment, he was walking and someone came up and said, "Are you a god? I mean, he looked so different. He looked so special." And his answer was, "No, I am awake." But he was a young man at that time, and having woken up, what was he to do with the rest of his life? And he went to the deer park, and he gave the first turn of the Dharma wheel, the Four Noble Truths. And he spent the next 45 years basically explaining what that meant. As a teacher, he realized that he couldn't explain what enlightenment was. If you've ever read the Lotus Sutra, people keep gathering together to get the truth, and it never happens. Because a truth can't be told to you. It's something you have to experience. So the Eightfold Noble Path, he was very clear in making this isn't a doctrine, this isn't dogma. This is the path I took. And if you decide to take it, then you have to experience it. And he broke it out into 8 components. But the 8 components really just form a wheel. And no individual spoke of that wheel is more important than the others. So when you embark upon the Eightfold Noble Path, it isn't one step, then another step, then another step. You don't do right view, right intent, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration sequentially. It doesn't work that way. Each one of these things is part of your journey to enlightenment, to awakening, to developing wisdom and compassion, bodhicitta. And that's the ultimate goal, to develop wisdom and compassion. That's the meaning of the finger pointing at the moon. Don't mistake this. Don't make it the finger. Make it the moon. Don't make it an arduous task that you're going to do these 8 things for the rest of your life to attain enlightenment. That's not the point. The point is you have now. What are you doing with now? And how do you make the most of now? So the Eightfold Path really divides into 3 things. There's wisdom, ethics, and mental discipline. The wisdom, you're wondering probably what this is. My cheat sheet. This is from The Idiot's Guide to Buddhism. And you may laugh, but it really is a good book. And it really explains things in a way that a layman could understand and that a novice monk could understand. I got this book a long time ago. But it has the essentials in it. And its right view or right understanding is that there is attachment, and that's the cause of suffering, and here's the way to end your suffering. But in a deeper way, right understanding is to see things as they really are. To get behind your prejudices, your viewpoints, and to really see things as they are. In the Lotus Sutra there's a line, "And far from all fantasy there's dwelling in nirvana." A lot of us go through life in a fantasy. It causes a lot of trouble because we're not really seeing what's really happening. We get distracted by our previous perceptions and previous judgments. So right understanding is the start. And you'll be working on that all of your life. The next is right intention. The intent is to become enlightened. Not for gain, not for fame. It's a personal journey that you're making, that you're undertaking to awaken. But intention is a major part of karma. And all of these steps are interconnected. You'll see. It's what you intend by your action that determines the karma. So if you do something that seems great and generous and all that, but your intention is to make yourself a star, you didn't get any merit for that. So it's what you intended to do, what you intend to do. And the easiest way to guide your intentions is to follow the Brahma Viharas: loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. Hold those in your mind. Let those guide your intention, because it strips away the self. It strips away the ego. It shows you basically that we're all interconnected and interdependent. So what you say, do, work at is something that is helping your world. Now we go to the moral conduct, ethical conduct, right speech. You know not to tell lies. You know not to, we're seeing a lot of that. We know about lies. We know about boasting. We know about obfuscation. These are the things that make speech deadly in a way. It does have consequences. Things you say can't be unsaid. The person that heard that has heard it forever. And it does affect people, like little kids. If you berate a little kid and call them worthless or whatever, that's never forgotten. That's never repaired. It's there forever. It's a stumbling block for the rest of their lives. And we see, bad speech having its effect all over this country with people acting out. But the other part of right speech is listening. A lot of us talk to people or are talked at, and we're formulating our response before they're even finished. They're saying something and we're assuming that we know the rest of their sentence, and we have our reply already. You can see that in conversations every day. In Native American culture, you don't do that. In Native American culture, the person speaks, and then you respond, because you've really heard what they had to say, and thought about it, and then responded to it. So right speech is also right listening. It's that communication. And it's not an easy one. You have to think about your words and not be glib about it. Next is right action. And that has the 5 precepts. That's right. Don't kill, don't steal, don't misuse sex, don't lie, and don't become intoxicated. And if you just left it there, you really haven't dealt with it. You haven't made it a part of your journey or your path. It's very doubtful that many of you are going to be murderers or rapists. It's very doubtful that you're going to become, at least I'm judging, drunken drivers causing accidents. Don't leave it with just those things. Just don't make it easy on yourself. Killing. You're going to kill something. An ant. And the precepts aren't commandments. Buddhism doesn't have commandments. It basically has like suggestions. So when we first got here in LA, we had to deal with ants. Back east, you don't have that kind of problem. So we hired an exterminator. And then Reverend Karuna talked to us about ants and about ants wanting to live just as much as you do. So we got rid of the exterminator. And we tried to keep things neat and clean so we didn't have ants. Well, one morning we woke up to a horror film as far as I could feel. Waves of ants were crawling through my kitchen. And there was no way that I was going to take the little fella outside and have better life. I had to call an exterminator. I had to wish those many, many thousands of ants a better rebirth. But I was aware of what I was doing. I understood there was some karma attached to that, like put the bread away kind of thing. The other thing is the other part of the positive side of the negative side. Like, don't kill, but help people. Be generous. Have unselfish sex if you're going to have sex. Tell the truth. And serve lemonade. Take the positive part of it. Make that part of your life and your journey. Then we come to right livelihood. And the Buddha it was kind of simple for the Buddha. It was like, don't be a butcher, don't be a bartender, don't sell liquor or people. Just do your job. Well, we live in a more complex world. We have to earn a living, unless you're a trust fund baby, but and not every living is totally free of bad stuff. You could work at Walmart as a clerk, but think of the sweatshops that made the stuff that you're selling. So you're part of that. Mortgage brokers. It used to be, mortgage broking, you put somebody in their first home, or they get a better home. But if you were working for Countrywide back in 2007, 2008, you were causing a great deal of potential harm and eventual harm to thousands of people that you talked into a mortgage that they couldn't afford and couldn't maintain. That was very bad karma. That was a very bad livelihood. So, with whatever you're doing, do it the most honorable and honest way you can. And if you find yourself doing something dishonest, get out of there. It isn't worth it. Because the way things work, you're the low person on the totem pole, and you'll take the blame. I don't think the guy who owned Countrywide spent any time in jail and only paid a portion of what he had bankrolled. So, again, you're living, you're working. It used to be you'd get a job and have it, for 40 years and then retire. That's gone. You're going to have many jobs that you're going to be asked to do to earn money. And the thing is that you have to feel good about that. So that's right livelihood. And then we come to mental discipline. The first is right effort. And right effort is two parts, really. There's the broken out one, which is stop unwholesome activities arising, end unwholesome qualities if they have arisen, develop wholesome qualities, or maintain wholesome qualities. The unwholesome qualities basically are anger, greed, delusion or ignorance. The wholesome qualities, generosity, compassion, and wisdom. And that should be guiding your efforts on this journey, but it's also your journey. And the other part of the effort is do this because you like it, because you feel that this is the right thing for you. Each of these things you should weigh, like the teachings of the Buddha. There's great effort and great doubt. They're both necessary. Question, why am I doing this? Is this how I want to spend my life? is it worth the effort? Because there are sacrifices in this. I mean, it's a whole different set of values that you're developing. And it's going to take its toll. You know, I've seen people who were really bright and generous and good people, but they made the decision to make a lot of money. Now, they're not evil. The stuff they're honest working, but they have narrowed their life. And all they want is the money. And so the place in Seattle and the place in Palm Springs and the place in Laguna Beach and the Porsche one place and the Mercedes in another place and the Range Rover, that's the scope of their world. I don't see a book in their house. You better bring your Kindle. And it's a shame, because their life could have been so much fuller, so much richer than just having the proof of all of this. And he's reached an age that he has it, so he's not going to lose it. So, I mean, basically he'll ride out between these three places. But so you, in your effort, is this the journey you want to make? Is this the way you want to live your life? And we've said this a dozen times here, so pardon me if I repeat it. When we were first taking the precepts, Reverend Karuna brought in Reverend Ratanasara, and he said, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because it will change your life." And we all, of course, said, yes, sure, yes. Well, it did change our lives. It changed. Things happened in my life that previously I would have dealt with in a different fashion. But I'm thankful that I had this change, because I dealt with it in a way that made me feel comfortable, content. Then we come to mindfulness. I suffer from anxiety. And so mindfulness is kind of really difficult, because I'm always living a few seconds ahead. You know, I'm living in what could go wrong, as opposed to I'm here. This is now. Being mindful, those moments that I can do it, is a joy. As part of the practice, there are 4 components. Mindfulness of the body, and most often that's breathing. Mindfulness of emotions. What are you feeling? And what are you really feeling? I'm just fine. How many times have I had friends say, "Oh, I'm just fine," and you know that they're a basket case. Mindfulness of thoughts. This is the kind of stuff that runs through your head all the time. And we are our thoughts. You can go back to right intention on this one. We are what we think. What we think is what becomes. And there are schools that say everything is mind. Nagarjuna, I think.
Nagarjuna.
And then mental objects. Mental objects are when you see something, are you seeing that thing or are you seeing the object that you've decided it is? There's sensation, perception, volition, and consciousness. In the perception phase, we make decisions. We decide what that is. We bring to that our history. You know, so a flower isn't a flower. A flower is the flower that you liked before or didn't like before. So these are the things you have to be mindful of, because they keep you from experiencing what is. So you develop your mindfulness. And it saves a lot of time eventually, like locking the door. You take the key out, you put it in, you turn it, you've locked the door. How many times have I left, been driving, and saying, did I lock the door? And then the question is, do I turn around and come back? Or do I just trust to fate? We do a lot of things with our habit energy, habit emotions. Become aware of that. Become aware of what you're doing. And just take that, enjoy that moment, that awareness. And it'll save you a lot of time eventually. And the last is right concentration, which technically are the four jhanas, and you descend deeper and deeper. You get to tranquility. That's the third one, and then you go down one more until you're just there. It's meditation of one kind, and I enjoy the part going down to tranquility. That's, you just feel safe, you don't feel anxious, you just, the next step is more difficult. That's the real hard one. But there are things, and I'm going to use another cheat sheet, they're called the hindrances. And you should be aware of them, because they're going to make your mindfulness and your concentration difficult. And the hindrances are sensory desire, ill will, sloth, restlessness or worry, and doubt, lack of conviction. These are the little things that keep popping up as you're trying to bring yourself to rest, bring yourself to stillness, to being in the moment. So just be aware that they're there, that you're going to have them, that is going to be part of your life. But work with them. All of this whole path, this whole process is for you to work with, to experience. It's not something you learn, not something you can check off. It's something that every day you're experiencing. And the idea is to experience it fully. It's a process. And because there's rebirth, you'll be going through it again. I'm pretty sure. At least I know I will. So, under right effort, you have to enjoy it. You have to sit with your fears and see them and experiencing them. Because it is far from all fantasy. Good and bad is dwelling in nirvana. And that's the purpose of the Eightfold Path. Thank you.